Rumpelstiltskin by Bethany Milsom. Once upon a time, there was a miller who was poor and had a beautiful daughter. Now it happened that he had to go speak to the king, and in order to make himself appear more important, he said to him, "I have a daughter who can spin straw into gold." The king, intrigued by this comment, says, "That is an art form which pleases me well, and if your daughter is as clever as you say, bring her here tomorrow to my palace, and I will try to see what she can do." When the girl was brought to him, he locked her into a room which was quite full of straw, gave her a spinning wheel and a reel, and said, "Now set to work, and if by tomorrow morning early you have not spun the straw into gold during the night, you must die." Mortified by these comments, the girl knew she was not capable of spinning the straw into gold, and grew more and more miserable until at last she began to weep. But all at once, the door opened and a tiny man came in and said, "Good evening, why are you crying?" The girl responded, "I have to spin the straw into gold, and I don't know how to do it." The tiny man said, "What will you give me if I do it for you?" The miller's daughter offered him her necklace, and the tiny man took the necklace and spun all the straw into gold. The king came in the next morning, and he saw all the gold. He was astonished and delighted, but his heart became only more greedy. He had the miller's daughter taken into another room full of straw, which was much larger, and commanded her to spin that also in one night if she valued her life. The girl knew she couldn't, and began to weep again. The tiny man showed up once again and said, "What will you give me if I spin the straw into gold for you?" The girl responded, "The ring on my finger." The little man took the ring and again began to turn the wheel, and by morning spun all the straw into glittering gold. The king rejoiced beyond measure at the sight, but still he had not enough gold, and had the miller's daughter taken into a larger room full of straw, and said, "You must spin this too in the course of the night, but if you succeed, you shall be my wife. Even if she is a miller's daughter, I could not find a richer wife in the world." When the girl was alone, she began to cry, because once again she still knew she could not spin the straw into gold. The tiny man showed up and asked, "What will you give me if I spin the straw into gold for you also?" The girl responded, "I have nothing left I can give." The little mannequin responded, "Then promise me if you should become queen your first child." Thinking that it would never happen, the girl agreed to these conditions, fearing for her life. Of course, the tiny man was able to spin all the straw into gold once again, and the king came in astounded by the amount of gold in the room. He took the miller's daughter's hand in marriage, and she became queen of the kingdom. A year later, she had the king's child, to which the mannequin returned for his payment. Devastated by this, she completely forgot about the little mannequin and offered him all the riches in the kingdom, to which he responded, "No, something that is living is dearer to me than all the treasures in the world." Then the queen began to weep again, so that the mannequin pitied her. He said, "I will give you 3 days' time, and if by that time you find out my name, then you shall keep the child." So the queen thought the whole night of all the names that she had ever heard, and sent a messenger over to the country to inquire far and wide for any names that there might be. When the mannequin came the next day, she began with Casper, Meliquar, Balthazar, and said all the names she knew, one after another, but to one every time the little man said, "That is not my name." On the second day she had inquiries made to the neighborhood as the names of all the people there, and repeated to the mannequin the most uncommon and curious names. "Perhaps your name is Short Ribs, or Sheepshanks, or Lace Leg," but he always answered, "That's not my name." On the third day, the messenger came back and said, "I have not been able to find a single name, but I came across the high mountains to the end of the forest, where the fox and the hare bid each other good night. There I saw a little house. Before the house was a fire, and around the fire was a quite ridiculous little man jumping. He hopped upon one leg and shouted, 'Today I bake, tomorrow brew, the next I'll have the queen's child. Ha! Glad am I that no one knew that Rumpelstiltskin I am styled.'" The queen was happy to hear this news, and the little man came in on the third day. "Now, Mistress Queen, what is my name?" said the tiny man. At first she said, Is your name Conrad? No, he responded. Is your name Harry? No. Perhaps your name is Rumpelstiltskin. Angered by this, the little man responded, The devil has told you that. The devil has told you that. And plunged his right foot into the earth to where his whole leg went in, and then with rage he pulled at his left leg so hard that both hands came up into the air and he tore himself in two. The end.